Morning! Welcome to the Real Biz Academy, aka Centermac Weekly Sales Training. And this morning we got a pretty good attendance. Not amazingly impressed, but not too much disappointed. I wish there were more people that could join us, but of course, understandably, it is 11 a.m. in the morning. A lot of people are still at work somewhere else. Okay. Perhaps they would rather, well, I can't really blame them because that other job is important too. Okay, hopefully they'll go back and watch the video. Now, first of all, a few updates for people that still care about Centermac's development. Okay, now this morning I sent an email to everyone informing everyone that we will be going virtual January 1st, 2022. What does going virtual mean to you? It means you're actually going to get more support and more benefits as an agent than if we are not virtual. You know, get rid of all the bricks and mortar, and you're going to be very happy with the kind of support that you get from Centermac. Now, the new company was just filed yesterday. It is known as Virtual Funding Inc. And of course, it will have a trade name, and the trade name will include the name Centermac somewhere in the trade name. This is a California corporation. And in addition to that, because we are also being virtual, give us the ability to do business and conduct business across the state lines to different states. We're already doing that in Nevada and Arizona, that's for sure. That's why I'm talking about Arizona today. Because being involved with Arizona, that means that I need, or any of you who wants to send an investor to Arizona, needs to know why is it that the Arizona property tax is so low. So we're going to talk about that. So there'll be a new Nevada corporation form. And of course, that's going to be a Nevada-based company. In addition to that, we've already gotten licenses in 12 different states: California, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Texas, Florida. What else we got? We got West Virginia, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin. And Illinois. Okay. Washington, D.C., I forgot about that. Okay, Washington, D.C. too. Now, once the new corporation is formed in Nevada, that corporation is going to be primarily involved with, well, real estate as well as mortgage broker business. But that is a corporation that's going to be applying for the company licenses in all of these different states. There might be one or two more forms just to satisfy the state requirements. Some states do require that we have a physical office. Nevada is one of them. That's why I decided to form a corporation in Nevada. Nevada, we should have plenty of opportunities. Recently, I got a couple of opportunities in Nevada I could not take advantage of because we were not licensed in Nevada. Okay, soon we will be. That's for sure. So that's the good news. And the benefits you're going to be getting is we're going to be having 24/7 support. I mean 24/7. Anytime in the day. You can't call me in the middle of the night, but you can call for support in the middle of the night. You get an offer due tomorrow and you got something you couldn't quite figure out, just send a support request from one of our TCs. All of the TCs will be trained on how to prepare offers. and they're all trained by me. There is no holding back when I train my TC. So whatever I know, I teach them. So they're all going to be as knowledgeable as I am as far as preparing the offer. The newer agents that will join Centermac will be required to have all offers prepared by our TC for a couple of reasons. I like consistency and uniformity. I can't be having 30 different agents submitting offers, in their own ways. There's got to be a uniform way of doing things. I'm not saying my way is the best way, but at least my way, as far as my way is concerned, I can look into all the legal possibilities and come up with something that will satisfy the customer and also will protect the customers. Okay, and every agent, should you decide, now I'm not forcing everybody to use TC to prepare offers, only for the new agents because they're signing on to the new term. Okay, all the newer agents are going to have their offers prepared by our TC. I tell you how much time saving that could be. Yesterday, I prepared 3 offers, and each one of them required an hour. So I decided to teach my TC to prepare an offer. Each hour that I save, I can make at least 10 more phone calls and generate more sales. Why would I want to sacrifice an hour of my precious time preparing an offer when I can give it to one of my TCs? They just need to know my parameters. I help them set up my template already, so they know which company, which title companies I'm using, and which escrow company I'm using, which NHD company I'm using. What's my standard escrow period? My standard contingency periods, loan appraisal, inspection. Okay, everything is in template format. So after they prepared, I still get to review it. It's not going to be sent out without my review. I reviewed it, and if I need to tweak a little, make a little changes, I have the option. But most of the time, I don't have to. And also, when I make a request, I fill out this TC request form, and on the request, if I have special instructions, I'll put it in the special instructions. So they know these are the changes that Kenny wants to make on his offer. So they're making the changes. Otherwise, it's just standard way of preparing it. That 1 hour of me spending the time to prepare an offer, it's now absorbed by one of our 24/7 TC. I mean, I can generate offers in big numbers because 24/7. You can't go wrong with 24/7. They're there they're there working 3 shifts a day. Okay, that's 3 shifts. Okay, any time of the day. I happened to have to submit 3 offers yesterday, and good thing I got help. Okay, but that's another benefit of us going virtual. Really, I mean, I really can't say any other way. And then now we got what, Omicron, the new scary COVID-19. Rumor has it that it's going to be worse. The numbers are getting worse. So why shouldn't we go virtual? Why do we need that big offices for? We can't even make use of it. And most agents don't come to the office anyway. When we had the office, oh my God, less than 10% of the agents come to the office. So what would be the point? I'm asking, what would be the point? You want to impress your customers? These days, customers don't need that kind of impression. They want attention. They want value. The more time you can spend with them, giving them the attention, the more they appreciate you as their agent. How are you going to spend more time with them when you're just busy doing paperwork? You won't have that time because, you know, half of the time you're busy doing paperwork. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead. I got everybody here already. Okay. There were a few latecomers, but all right. Now I'm impressed with the number. I'm seeing 25 people attending today's training. So, okay, that's a good number. So I'm going to start right now. So today we have 4 topics. And the first topic is, how is Arizona property tax system different from that of California? I tell you, it's pretty big difference. And the second topic is role playing in real estate sales training. Before I start learning prospecting, before I was exposed to my ferry, I had no clue what role playing is. And many new agents have no clue what role playing is. So, you know, but if you're a full-time agent, now if you're a part-time agent, I'm probably talking Greek to you, because part-time agents they don't need to know how to role play. The full-time ones, if you've been with us for a long time, and you're doing less than 5 deals a year, you got to start role playing. There's something wrong with your sales skills, because if you spend enough time with your lead gen, of course, some of you still have problem with lead gen. Okay, you shouldn't have that problem. I think your bigger problem is you don't have enough sales skills. Okay, we'll talk about that in greater details. Third topic we're going to be talking about is how to win friends. Let the other person do most of the talking. Years ago, I used to like to boast in front of my friends, what were my past accomplishments. Of course, that's a huge mistake. It's better to let the other person boast or talk about their accomplishment than you just talking about yourself. Okay, and I'll go deeper into it afterwards. Final topic of today's training is on the Los Angeles REAP program. And REAP program, it's a program that forces slumlords out of Los Angeles. If you are a slumlord in the city of Los Angeles, you are a candidate to have your property brought into the REAP program. It's quite miserable when your property is brought into the REAP program. All right, now Arizona. I got a couple of transactions in Arizona right now. Not real estate, but loan. Okay, I do loans in Arizona for a couple of California buyers. So, sometimes I get asked, and you probably will get asked a lot, is what's the property tax bill look like, or what's the tax rate in what's the tax rate for that property in California? It's very easy to tell people what the tax rate is, because all you got to do is Google search a particular county, and then you find out if there's Melrose or no Melrose. So whatever the basic property tax rate is for that county, you add the Melrose tax rate to it, you come up with the effective property tax rate in California. Okay. In Arizona, it's hard to figure out what the property tax rate is. And a couple of reasons. Number one, it is different from California. You see, California, if you want to know quickly how much property tax you'll be paying for that property that you're buying once you become the owner, typically in California, they will use the sale price as the market price, unless it's disproportionate to the actual value. So if the market value is 800,000 and you get it for 600,000, then it will start to raise some eyebrows, and they are not restricted to use the sale price as the assessed value in California. but most of the time they will just use the sale price. Okay, so but in Arizona, this is how they compute the property tax of a given property in Arizona. First of all, you have to know the definition of limited property value. It is similar in concept to Proposition 19, not 19, but the Proposition 13 in California. Proposition 13 limit the amount of property taxes a person is required to pay for a given property if there's no change of ownership. Okay, say for example in California, a grandpa bought a property for 100,000 50 years ago. Of course, back then, if you use the sale price as the assessed value, then it was 100,000. That is the base years of property tax. And because of Proposition 13 in California, each year, the county government is limited to an increase of no more than 20% of the previous year's assessed value. If it's no more than 2% of the assessed value of the previous year, after 50 years, what is the current assessed value? If there's no change of ownership ever, and if there is no improvement to the property to trigger any kind of reassessment. So a property that you bought $100,000 50 years ago is now only assessed at 200,000 because maximum of 2% per year. Okay, that seems pretty good because 50 years, some places the property would have gone up like 10 times in value already, and it's only assessed at 2 times the value of the original purchase. Okay, in Arizona, even though they don't have Proposition 13, they have something that is even better than Proposition 13. It is called LPV, Limited Property Value. It's a relatively new concept. I can't remember the exact year that law was passed, but it was in the 2000s, so not long ago. And because of the passage of that law, LPV was established and defined. LPV stands for Limited Property Value. Okay. Now, a property in Arizona, if you buy it at market price of, let's say, $300,000, if at the time of the purchase, the LPV was previously established at, let's say, 100,000, okay? And despite the fact that property is actually worth 300,000, see, if you in California, if you're in this situation, you buy a piece of property at 300,000, naturally, next year when you receive your property value, you can expect the assessed value to be 300,000. In Arizona, there's no such a thing. You see, the biggest difference is if there is no change of use concerning the property that you're buying, then the LPV doesn't change. Unlike in California, as soon as there's a change of ownership, your assessed value goes up to the market value. In Arizona, no, not like that. So if you bought a piece of rental property, and because the previous use is for rental, and you're also using it for rental, there is no change of use. Even though there was a change of ownership, your LPV doesn't change, okay? So your LPV is not 300,000. Your LPV is 100,000. Well, how do you go from LPV to find out what the tax rate is? Well, the tax rate is actually uh, computed this way. So in Arizona, depending on which counties you're in, the one that I know of, because I had a recent transaction there, is Mariposa County. Mariposa County, the assessment ratio, okay, that's another new terminology. The assessment ratio is 10% of the LPV. If your LPV is 100,000, your assessed value is only $10,000. If your assessed value is 10,000, and if the tax rate for that particular county is 1%, how much are you paying? How much are you paying for the property taxes each year? Okay, what is 1% of 10,000? Okay, do the math. What? $1,000? I mean, you can't even imagine. If you buy a property in California, now using the same numbers that we use in Arizona, your property tax will be computed this way. So in California, it's 300,000 times whatever the tax rate is. Assuming no Mello-Roos, let's say, yeah, you're right, Vala, okay, yeah, that's a ridiculous number. Okay, it's an extremely low number, right? Imagine paying annual property tax $100. That's unheard of. But of course, that's Arizona. In California, how much would you be paying if you just close escrow on a $300,000 home? Your next year you get a bill is 300,000 in assessed value, and even conservatively, we go by 1% is the property tax rate for that particular county. Okay, 1% of 300,000, you're talking about $3,000 a year. Here, you're talking about peanuts in Arizona, which is another reason why, Arizona, it's a great place for folks that want to retire. Okay. And not only is the property tax so low, the living expenses are much lower than California's too. I was talking to one of my students the other day, and she wanted to buy a home in Arizona. So, I mean, her husband is pretty well educated, graduating, I think, from the Bay Area. Went to work for I think, a company that makes golf equipment. He sells golf equipment. So she wanted to buy a home, and I started pre-qualifying her, and then I realized husband was only making $3,000 a month. Okay, now $3,000 a month, you can't even support a family in California, but in Arizona you can. Okay, so she's now working as a part-time. She's a full-time agent, so she's generating some income for the family. Okay, so now you have an idea. Okay, why is it property tax in Arizona is so amazingly low? Okay, now we're going to move on to the next topic now. Role playing. I tell you what, I've done role playing before. I started role playing when I was really into prospecting, because I honestly feel that my skills will go up if I role play. Now, why would a real estate agent's sales skills go up when they role play? You see, in hiring any kind of professionals, What does a consumer use as their criteria to evaluate if they should trust an agent or not? You would appear to be more trustworthy if you can speak confidently, and if you give people the impression that you are a problem solver. So when you role play, you can actually practice all kinds of different scenarios with the people that you role play with. Role play, it takes two to tango, so the two must be pretty compatible. You can't have one that is excellent on the sales skills, the other one is just starting out. They are not, these role play partners will not be compatible. So one of the challenges that you have as a newer agent is, well, is he a lot better than I am? Or if you're a very experienced agent, would you role play with somebody who's who's just starting to role play? Probably not. You probably want to pick somebody that is more experienced. So first benefit is it builds confidence, because when you are in a sales situation, most of the time, unless the prospect knows you already, you come highly recommended by a friend. Otherwise, when you are dealing with strangers, you are going to have to uh, respond to whatever objection that they have. The more common ones, like the one that I have, is have you sold any properties in my neighborhood? Yeah, that's a tough one sometimes, especially for agents that don't have a lot of experience, especially when you're trying to get a listing like I did all over the state of California. Okay. Pretty much, in every place that I try to get listing in, uh, that's a situation I am going to encounter. So I'll get into why is it that I can somehow avoid the danger using a technique that I'm going to cover today. Okay. Role playing build confidence. Secondly, by role playing, you can actually be more creative in problem solving because it forces you to think, what if this guy gives me that problem? How am I going to respond? So you practice it with your partner. Okay. Now you, as your partner's role play partner, your role is when it's your turn to listen, is to listen to your partner perform when he's the person asking questions and you're the person throwing the curveball at him. Okay, see if you can handle your curveball. And then after each role play session, you're supposed to give feedback to your role play partner. That way you can all improve. Better yet, when you role play, although I've never done it before, I think it will bring benefit, is uh, record the audio. That way you know how you sound. Was there any moment where I wasn't too confident? And the reason why I wasn't too confident, because I did not memorize my script enough. I did not practice your script. You see, when you role play, it's more than just the words. You got to practice your tonality too. I mean, if you're just reading script, you know, you people really can't get a good feeling on what kind of person you are, whether you're a confident person or not. That's not a good role play, because when you schedule your role play session with your role play partner, you each agree on what script you're going to work on that day. Are you working on for sale by owner, expired listing, this just sold or just listed? Okay, there are only 5 or 6 different scripts. So honestly, though, it's not difficult to memorize them. I think the hard part for most people is that they don't have the discipline to do that. And the reason they don't have the discipline to do that, they don't have the motivation. See, that's why I don't role play with agents that don't have motivation, because they are not going to be good role play partners. When I used to role play, just to give you an idea what kind of motivation I had, my role play partner was in Texas, and he only role played during certain hours. And I role played with him at 6 a.m. in the morning. Okay, but eventually we kind of gave up on each other because I think we were having difficulty, scheduling the role plays. Okay. Uh, all right. If you're thinking about improving your sales skills, seriously consider role playing. If you're only interested in doing 5 or 6 deals a year, then really don't spend any time on role play because you're wasting your time. Okay. But if you're the type of person who wants to do 50, 60 deals a year, yeah, start role playing. Uh, and of course, start delegating. I see some of you top producers, you don't delegate. And that's why you're stuck at 35 to 40 transactions a year, where you could be doing about 50 or 60 a year. Okay. All right. Next one. How to win friends and influence people. Let the other person do most of the talking. See, I told you one of the techniques that I used when I went around the entire state of California, signing listings. And amazingly, more than 90% of the time, they don't ask me, hey Kenny, have you ever done any deals selling homes in my neighborhood? That question never came up because I let them do most of the talking. And this is called rapport building. And one of my rapport building techniques is my standard listing presentation procedure. I show up, I knock on the door, he brought me in, and instead of sitting down right away, usually I ask in a very nice way. Most people oblige anyway. Uh, do you mind giving me a quick tour of your house? Well, now you see, because when they give you a quick tour of the house, who's doing the talking and who's doing the listening? Of course, the seller is doing the talking, and you are the one that listens. Now, especially if he has lived in the house like forever, he knows the inside and outside of the house. And you look at something that is unique, that is uniquely personal to him, you start making him talk about the history of how he acquired that thing. Some people are very proud of what they've done to the house. Make them talk. Just listen. And then after a while, they kind of warmed up to you. They forgot about, okay, maybe I should ask Kenny this, or maybe I should ask Kenny that. By the time you sit down with them, they don't even ask you, hey, have you sold any home in, for example, in Napa, the one. I like to use Napa as an example because that was an amazing experience. It was a for sale by owner. I called him, and I did not even pre-qualify him, which was not a good practice because I had to drive all the way from San Francisco to Napa. What if I don't end up with the listing? It would have been a huge time investment. Of course, those days I did some foolish things, but at the same time, I gained some experience and I become wiser. And we made an appointment. I showed up and I walked around the house. And of course, that one had a dock, a private dock for the boat. When we're in the backyard, and he started talking about, how he enjoyed the backyard with the private dog because he started talking about his kids playing, growing up in their house. When you get into that kind of conversation, you want to keep it going for a while, okay? Because often you don't know, what is the favorite topic from the seller about the house that he lives in. But this one wasn't too difficult because I know there was a private dock there. I'm sure he had a lot of activities that he could tell me about. Okay. So we sat down, and he had no clue I was trying to convert and get a listing from him. He thought I was going to bring him a buyer after talking to me. Okay. And then suddenly and amazingly, I did not do a listing presentation. All I did was just asking question, asking question, asking question, asking questions, and listening to him. And then suddenly, hey Kenny, uh, can you wait a minute? And then he said, there's somebody I need to talk to. So he pulled out his cell phone, and then he dialed his ex-wife. His ex-wife was a real estate agent too. She may be still a real estate agent. He said, Kenny, I think I'm interested in letting you list the property, but there's somebody I need to get blessing from. So he called the ex-wife, and he said, hey, Laura. I can't remember what the name is. Maybe Laura, yeah, or some other name. I just remember. And he said, I think Kenny is going to bring me the buyer for this property. Uh, he's an amazing guy. See, the thing is, I'm a total stranger to him. I only answer his questions. I only answer when he asks me a question of me. Otherwise, I'm the one asking most of the questions. So, and then he got the blessing from the ex-wife, and then he pulled out his computer, and we started drafting the listing agreement. It was an amazing experience. I was there like an hour and a half. Okay, got the listing signed, and I've got listings signed in weird places like Galt in Sacramento. Galt is a small city, a little south of or south east of Sacramento. This is another for sale by owner. But he kind of get a sense that I was trying to get a listing from him that day. So I showed up, and I wasn't trying to hide the fact that I was trying to get a listing from him. But he gave me a quick tour, and as usual, I let them do most of the talking, and I just kind of listen and listen. Okay. Amazingly, he never asked me, Kenny, have you sold a home in the city of Galt? If he asked me, I would be honest with him though, if he did ask me. Okay. That's an objection that I've already practiced multiple times, so I know how to handle that objection because I practiced it. If you don't practice it, you don't know how to respond. Uh, and my standard response is local experience doesn't sell home, resources do, or resources do. Okay. So you got to be quick. You cannot stammer. You start stammering, you don't come across as a confident real estate agent. Okay. Got that one side easily. There were a lot more though, multiple examples I can share with you. You got to let the other person do most of the talking. If you're trying to get a listing signed, ask the right question. Once they get the good feeling for you, it's really, really not a difficult process. Just should be confident and acknowledge the fact that you don't have local experience. So what? Okay. There are other things that you do to bring him a buyer. Okay. So, but all of these are nice feelings. It's going to diminish over time unless you can really deliver. Of course, the pandemic came, I could not deliver. So in the end, I got fired. Okay. But distance was a big issue too. It was crazy. And when Michael and I we were driving all over California, signing listing, we closed deals on in different places. Another one that I closed was in El Sobrante. Okay, now I've sold home in El Sobrante, and I've sold home in Rodeo. Okay, the one in El Sobrante, same thing. I was making a prospecting call, and there are four personality styles in human beings. So I kind of evaluate her by listening to her. She's one of those who is, I think she's borderline between the expressive and the amiable. Okay. So those are the ones that you can actually practice on pacing and leading. And, I made her do a lot of talking to a point that in the end, you know what she said? She said, Kenny, I think I'm falling in love. Okay. Uh, I'm not kidding you. Those were her exact words. Okay. And that was an easy listing too, because when me and Michael showed up at her house in El Sobrante, I think Lily probably did the open house for that one. Of course, Michael was pretty good salesperson, and Michael did a great presentation. Her emotion was pretty good and high, and she basically said, "Well, where do I sign? Pull out the paperwork. Where do I sign?" Okay, remember, that's a very important principle. A lot of people, a lot of the agents don't understand. They like to boast about their company and they like to boast about themselves. You don't have to do all of that. Let the other person boast about themselves. Always praise them for doing something good, you know, for having certain accomplishments. Praise them, okay? And you will get your contract. Don't worry about it, okay? All right, now the last topic, which is the Los Angeles RIP program. When was I exposed to the RIP program? Oh my God, I was exposed to the RIP program early in my career as a real estate attorney. It was back in 2004, maybe. I had a landlord client who owned an apartment complex in the city of Los Angeles. And when he bought it, it was in pretty bad condition. See, that's one other thing that you as an investor needs to be careful of. Sometimes you look at some really, really old building, but the cash flow is really, really good. You're getting return or cap rate of 7 or 8%, but it's a very, very old building. It was built in the 1920s. Okay, that means that you better do a good report on that property, especially in the city of Los Angeles, to evaluate if this might possibly go into RIP because the condition is so bad and you don't want to spend the money, or the occupancy is so good, you don't want to disturb the tenant, so you kind of keep postponing the repair. So one of these days, when one of your tenants can't afford to make the rent anymore, you know what they do? They just file a complaint with the city of Los Angeles. I can't remember what that department is, but it's about housing. So the city of Los Angeles is a housing authority. And the complaint is the conditions of the property are so bad that it's not livable. All right. And then once the complaint is filed, they send an inspector. And when they send an inspector, you are required to cooperate. If you don't cooperate, they can actually take some court action against you. So when you cooperate, you let the inspector come in. Of course, the inspector will create a very bad, possibly honest report about your property, or possibly unfair report. But when you're in that situation, they don't have to be nice to you. And report is bad, and immediately within a short period of time, you're going to get a notice from the city of Los Angeles saying, we are officially bringing your property into the city of Los Angeles RIP program. Now, what happens when your property is in the RIP program? You are no longer entitled to receive any rent from any of your tenants. All the tenants will receive notice from the city to make the payment. The tenants are still required to make payment though, okay, to the city, except that the money will be kept in the escrow account. Now, that escrow can be used by the city to make repairs to your property. Now, the city is still going to give you some time to make the repairs. It is only when you don't comply or if you fail to meet the time requirements that they are entitled to use the money in the escrow account to make the repairs. You have no control how they spend their money, okay? How they spend the money, you are at their mercy. Okay? Now, once the repairs are made, then you can apply to the city of Los Angeles to remove the property from the REIT program. Okay, then you can start going back to normal to receive rent from the tenant. Now, what if there is not enough money to make the repairs? Then you're never going to be able to collect rent from your tenant until all the repairs are made. So it could be a long, long time. If you don't have enough money and you're one of those landlords who don't have any kind of reserve, then really you may be forced to sell the property. So there may be times when you search on the MLS, you come across a property that is so much below market value. Recently, I came across such a property. It was a duplex, and it was very attractive because the price is low. So upon further learning, I found out that this property is in the REIT program. And the reason this property ended up in the REIT program is because there was a fire in the kitchen. And the people that own the place, they don't have the money to make the repairs. So because they don't make the repairs, the tenant who was living in there, even though it could have been the tenant's fault who caused the fire, but it doesn't matter. It may be the tenant's fault. You, the landlord, you are required to fix these things. You don't do it, it's in the REIT program, and you can either go bankrupt or sell it at a discounted price. So once in a while, you can find deals like that. Just understand that if you buy this property, you are required. You can't even close escrow until the property has been repaired. So it might be challenging to close a deal like that if the property is in a REIT program. Okay, so that's all I'm going to share with you regarding RIP today. Hopefully you learned some new things. And next Tuesday, which is after Christmas, we're still going to have our training. That will be the Southern California market update. Okay, and that's at 8:30 p.m. Tuesday night. All right, thank you all for showing up today. And hope everybody have a Merry Christmas and enjoy your holidays. Have a nice day and see you next time.